Welcome to In Search of Catholic School Excellence, the show where we spotlight the programs, people, and practices making a real difference in Catholic education today. If you're a school leader striving to build a community of faith, excellence, and innovation, you've come to the right place. Each episode brings you ideas that are working, stories that inspire, and new possibilities for your school's mission. Let's explore what's working and what's possible. Hi, folks. Welcome back to another episode. This week, I am joined by Brendan Schneider of SchneiderB.com. He's a former administrator and now marketing guru for schools all around the country. I know he laughs when I say something like that, but he does a lot of good stuff and is talking a lot about how our schools could be better at this. And I know it's a hard job for principals often doing this by themselves. So that's why we got Brendan on the show today. Thanks for joining us again, Brendan.
Thomas, so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, let's jump right into it. When most of the folks who are listening here don't have a marketing team, right? They don't have like a group of people who are doing the work. They've got to figure out a way to keep the lights on, manage the folks that are under their care, and then also they're supposed to pitch the school, which that used to not be a problem. Used to have waiting lists. So it's a whole new beast, I think, for principals these days. So I guess where I want to start is, what are some of the things that you see that are the greatest challenge and maybe some of the lowest hanging fruit that folks could take advantage of?
Oh, that's such a great question. And we could be here for hours talking about that, Thomas. I'm trying to think of the best place to jump in. I think the first one is, and this is where this answer comes from. So I'm Catholic, have gone to Catholic school in my life. Do agree that back in the day, because I'm old now and have gray hair, there were too many applications per seat, right? There were kids everywhere, money everywhere. It was less of a big deal. As you suggested, that's not the case anymore. So private schools, who I primarily deal with, are slow to this. Definitely deal with Catholic schools, though. But Catholic schools have been even slower to this, as you suggest, like thinking about marketing, making it part of, well, even admissions, but then the marketing piece. So I think the first place to start is to acknowledge that the problem exists.
Right.
Yeah, right. We have to name it, and we have to say, yeah, we need to pay attention to this. And I think the second thing is, and I'm thinking if you're the head of school or the principal or one of the administrators, is somebody has to own that function at school. Most likely, if you're listening to this, you're not going to hire somebody just for this role. I mean, that would be the gold star to do that, but most schools are not going to be in that position right now. But you've got to have somebody own it, because if everybody owns it, nobody owns it.
Right.
And if nobody owns it, nobody owns it. And the problem is it's super, super important. So that's where I would start.
Yeah, I think there's part of that problem is folks feel like things are out of their control. And I know this is around the country, but especially in our neck of the woods, we've got less children than there used to be. So there's this thing that, there's just less kids, and, there's nothing I can do about less kids, and therefore there's nothing we can do to make our situation better. But I have to think that in our diocese, particularly, we've got 48 schools, and there seem to be plenty of kids to go around in those schools, maybe, but definitely in the area there seem to be a lot of folks who are buying into even more expensive schools. Yeah. Or I can understand choosing a public school because it's free, right? Even if you're, maybe think that it's not going to be so great, or whatever your opinion of public schools might be. But the idea that people would be paying twice as much, maybe 3 times as much, to not go to your Catholic school seems to be kind of crazy. So I think there's this feeling of a little bit out of our hands, and there's not much we can do about it. But I feel like there's still a lot we can do about it.
Yeah, and that's I just reminded that you mentioned low-hanging fruit. So That was a very, very kind way of you to get me back on track. That was good. Here's what I would say, because I completely agree with you. If I was thinking about low-hanging fruit, and I'm an administrator at Catholic school right now, the first thing I would do is look at our website. And here, listen, I know the problems because I know that sometimes the Catholic school website is under the parish
Right.
or it's a subdomain. I mean, getting technical, I know you. By the way, when I'm a geek, you're a geek. I use that
Yeah,
as a
yeah.
term of endearment, but this technical stuff does matter,
It
right? So
does, for sure.
the first thing I would say is that regardless of that, make sure that you can control your school website. That's
Right.
one. Two, this is my opinion. Your school website exists for one purpose, to enroll new students.
Hmm.
So let's talk about that a little bit. Um, First off, you're going to say, Brendan, what about current parents? Current parents should be behind a password. They should be
Right.
someplace else. Um, it's not your front-facing website. Two, if you're worried about alumni, I would argue that alumni are probably better served with like a LinkedIn group
Right.
or someplace where they're going to be. And LinkedIn's free. I mean, for all intents and purposes, right? So do
Yeah,
that.
great point.
Three, um, you might be saying, Brendan, what about donations? And look, I'm a recovering fundraiser, did it, done. And I know that that's super important, but I don't know of anybody who just randomly found a website and gave, right? Right? It's like the spirit moved me to give today. No, that's not how that works.
Right.
You have to have the function to give, the button to give, the payment processor, all that. But that's someplace else on the site. It's
Yeah.
for prospective parents. So if you believe what I'm saying, through that lens, I want you to go to your website and channel a prospective parent and think about looking at your website.
Hmm.
And my guess is that your website's going to be for your current families or
Yeah.
thinking about current families. So that's one is look at the web. The second um the second thing, and this becomes more difficult, but you had mentioned 48 schools in the diocese, right, or
Hmm.
something, right? And we've seen it too. Well, and I don't know if you guys have had this. So I'm based in Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh had the Church Alive and the consolidation and
Hmm.
the stuff, right? But I think you, as a school, especially if you're the principal, you need to sit down and figure out what makes your school different.
Yeah.
And I think that if you say faith, you're going to lose, right?
Hmm.
Because I'm not diminishing the faith. I know that's an important part of it. But do you I was going to say manifest. That's not the right word. Do you come at faith a little differently or the way you think about it? How does it inform your curriculum? How does it
Sure.
inform? I mean, I know that there are tenets that we all adhere to being Catholics, but like, where does that fit?
Yeah.
Does your pedagogy, is it different than other schools, even though faith is a component? Is
Yeah.
it athletics? Is it arts? So, like, where back in the day, you're the church, like you're associated with the church, parents sent you there. You just went there.
Yeah.
That's not the case anymore for lots of reasons. Um, so I think if you can, what I'm saying is you have to put a flag in the ground of what makes you different.
So true.
And trying, and if you're the head or in charge, you can start to have those conversations because here's where schools struggle with this. They try to be all things to all people, and
Yeah.
that's a fail.
Can't do
And
it.
here's the struggle. By putting a flag in the ground and saying what you stand for and what you believe, that's also saying that we don't do this.
Right.
And most schools are like, "Oh my gosh, that's not oh my gosh, that's like sacrilege." No, you don't do that. That's okay. That
Yeah.
means you're going to attract the people that you want to, and those other folks are going to find places that are better fits for them.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't necessarily mean that you don't like, so I can think of a school who is, they really want to, they are so good at the arts, like incredibly good
Yeah.
performing and fine arts, just top notch. But they don't want to be seen as not a STEM school. And so they're like, well, we're good at that too. And so they won't embrace this art thing that would make them so unique in the entire diocese because they're worried about, losing that STEM side. It doesn't mean you're horrible at those things. It just means that like
Yeah.
this is the thing that we do a
Yeah.
little bit better. And that I think that's okay. Because what I see to your point is um, everybody wants to use the same web designer for their website, right? So they see each other's thing, they're like, "Oh, well, we should use them too." And then a long time ago, and I don't know if it's still the case, but the diocese had pushed one particular marketing group. And so like everybody was using the same marketing group. It's like, how is that? Maybe that marketing group could do a Catholic schools are awesome campaign instead of this Catholic school is better than that Catholic school, which is better than that Catholic school, right? Because we're end up with the same thing. It's all the same, and therefore there is no distinction. And so, as a parent, you're just like, I don't know. I would kind of look at these things and go, well, what time can I drop off my kid, and what time can I pick them up? Do you provide lunch? Like it's almost like the other things are what become more important because everything else is equal.
Yeah, I can't say it any better. I'll just add. Um, the oh my God, the website thing, we could talk for hours on that. Like the here's let's get tactical for a second. Like what can
Sure.
we do? Is we look at a website, here's if I see one more like drone video on the homepage or big sweep of campus, I'm going to throw up. And I don't mean to make fun of that, but people are selecting schools not because of the campus shot, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, great. I mean, I understand our buildings are important, but to a point.
Right.
Here's what I think has to be on the homepage and above the fold. So that means it's like an old newspaper term,
Right.
right?
Right.
So when the website first loads, the first thing you see, I think you have to have who you serve and how you're different.
Mhm.
And the way to answer that question is think of like, okay, so I'm going to go on a tangent and come back. You're the principal at school. Walk into your next administrative meeting and or do this with your board
Mhm.
and say, okay, I'm going to pass out note cards and have them say, I want you to write an answer down to a question I'm going to give you. Don't write your name on the card because I'm going to read
Mhm.
these aloud. So I want it to be anonymous.
Right.
And here's the question. If you bumped into a prospective family in, say, a grocery store's name. So
Right.
I don't know the local grocery stores, but let's just say Whole Foods, right?
Sure.
So you bump into a prospective family in Whole Foods and they ask you, why should they select your school over your biggest competitor? And name that school. Don't leave it anonymous. Name that school.
Yeah.
Why my school over ABC Academy? Why should they select my school, your school, the school you're
Yeah.
in?
Yeah.
Have them write down that answer. And my guess is that if you, and then collect them, read them. My
Mhm.
guess is that if you have 8 people in that room, you're going to have 8 different answers.
Yeah.
And that's bad. You've got to have a common thread there. And then that common thread goes on the homepage. So whatever that is. So
Yeah.
you're answering the question for your prospective families, how you're different than the biggest competitor.
Yeah.
So that's a technical thing. What else did you say? Oh, the art school thing, man. That drives me crazy. I was having like PTSD thinking about it as you're talking about it because I think things like, and please schools get away from buzzwords, academic excellence, and our faculty care about you. That come on, man. Everybody's does.
Yeah.
No
You
disrespect.
hopefully, right? Right.
Correct. Right. That's why we're in business. That's why we're there. That's the mission. So there are excellent faculty everywhere. Yours are not more special. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Academic excellence is the bar,
Right.
right? So the fact that they have that arts program, that's a differentiator. I would lean into that hard. And
Yeah.
then you still talk about the other stuff. Like
Yeah.
we still do this. And then for me, and I hate to tie it to this because I know it's not the point, but like if they're a high school, look at the placements. They're
Yeah.
going to have kids that are artists that go into STEM
Yeah.
because they just like that activity. Maybe they're not athletes, or maybe they're both. Or boy, I would lean into that hard.
Yeah. Well, I would hope that we would be developing kids that are both. Like, I think
Yeah,
about my own son. He's got all of those things. I wouldn't want him to not have the opportunity, right?
yeah,
And granted, he's not going to be great at everything, of course. I'm definitely not good at fine art, right? But like, doesn't mean that I hated art class, right? Like, I wanted like that to be real, and
yeah,
that's what we want to be able to provide. So I think it's okay to go after improving your program across the board, but I think you got to lean into something because otherwise, who's gonna who's gonna be left when it comes time to start consolidating? The high schools in our area did this about 30, 40 years ago. 40 years ago, that's crazy.
wow,
About 40 years ago, they consolidated. There used to be like 20, now there's three. And or I guess maybe four schools now. Point being is a whole lot went away. And so we kind of feel like maybe we're on the cusp of the beginning of that with the K through 8 schools, right?
Yeah.
But so like what's going to make that difference? Like who are going to be those that survive? And I hate to do this like survival of the fittest thing or to pin them against each other because I feel like it's more of a we should be working together to identify those strengths as a group and let's promote that with that one marketing agency. But as the individual school, that you've just got to have something that means something and hopefully means something to your staff that they believe in. Like this is who we are. This is why people want to come here. If they truly believe that, then that's great. If it's just a bunch of buzzwords, as you said, what kind of conviction can you get from folks? And that's a big selling point too.
Well, I'm so glad you brought that up because you hit the nail on the head about one point and then one point that I go on about. Um, Back to that exercise, those 8 people, 8 different things, we're going to decide on our thing that makes it different. If you have to pressure test that with the faculty, if the faculty don't believe that, they will actually work against you. They'll fight
Yeah.
you. And again, it's just fact.
Yeah.
It's just fact. It has to be authentic to the school. So check that. Here's
Mhm.
another exercise that people can do if you're trying to figure out, what that thing is. So if you're the principal or somebody at school, identify new families to the school this year. So again, they've been here now, pretty good clip of the school year,
Right.
but identify some new families, families that you would like more of.
Mm-hmm.
Let's call it what it is. Maybe they're full pay. Maybe they're from a neighborhood that you want. Maybe they,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. Identify 3 or 4 of those families and ask them if you could interview them.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing marketing research, just internal marketing research.
Sure.
So I would suggest this will make sense in a moment. You'll have to record it. So whether you're going to do it on Zoom or you want to meet them for coffee and ask them if you can record the audio
Mm-hmm.
and ask all the families the same questions, right? You can think about it like, how did you find us? Who else did you consider? What stuck out for our school versus our competitors? All those things. What could
Yeah.
we have done better? How did you find the website? How was the admission process? Ask all those things. And then the key is take that transcript, drop that into AI, and have it synthesize and come up with common themes, common messages. And
Mm-hmm.
then what you want to do is take those messages, if they resonate, that goes on your website. So
Sure.
that the gold star is the other families you're trying to attract are going to read the website and you're going to use that same language. And the families are going to go, oh my gosh, they're like speaking right to me.
Exactly.
That's the loop.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that plays into the idea that, every school wants everyone's drink their own Kool-Aid, right? So they feel like they've already done it.
Yeah.
But no matter where you think you are, whether you're at 20% or you think you're like 80% of like the place where you think you need to be, it's not that it's not oh I guess it is hard, but it's not that far to try to get 1% better, right? So to
Yeah.
take some of that
Yeah.
feedback and put it back through the loop again and through the loop again and again, we can just get closer and closer to that goal.
Yeah.
I think that's a really easy thing to do and something that should just be formalized, right? I can think of, at this point, kindergartner families come in, typically, more than half are new. And so they've got to go through like fingerprinting, you do all these things, and then like, you get through a few months where they kind of feel comfortable and you've kind of got through that initial feeling of, do I feel welcome here? Do I feel like I got the routine down, all that kind of stuff? And then you have that conversation again, like, hey, kindergarten parents, let's talk to, you again, or sixth grade parents when they transfer in from the public school. Like, it's a great opportunity to have those conversations and to, keep that dialogue going that you can keep improving. I just was talking to a colleague, Erica Bryant. She has this thing. It's called 30 coffees, where you go and try to have 30 coffees with people and just talk about your business. It's not a sales call. It's you might be talking about something you have in common, much like we're doing now.
Yeah.
But the whole idea is like if you applied that to your school and you were going to have conversations with folks, like why couldn't that just be part of the regular process, right? So
Yeah.
you have this like big formal thing, but also like, hey, let's sit down with that family who's been here a while or who came back, or there's something there's certain folks that you can probably pick out that makes sense for let's have a revisit to these questions.
Absolutely. And I love the 30 coffee idea. The other thing, although we're talking marketing, but there's also external marketing and internal marketing.
Yeah,
So one of the things, I'm a former admission director. I used to say all the time, it's much easier to re-enroll a student than enroll a student. So
sure.
having those coffees, being aware of retention issues, quite frankly, that's probably where the school should start. Like,
Yeah.
what's their retention number, or said the other way, attrition number. If
Hmm.
you've got a leaky boat, start there,
Yeah.
because you've got to keep the families that you have. Those coffees, having conversations, surveying families, is a great place to start to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you think about the old problem used to be, we were graduating 30 eighth graders, right? And are we taking in 30 kindergartners? That was the old
Yeah,
problem.
yeah,
But now it's like I might be losing those 30 eighth graders. I might also be losing 30 other kids in the school, and
yeah.
I'm only bringing in 15 kindergartners, right? So we have this kind of like rough cycle where like, hey, what happened? And
Race to the bottom. Yeah,
yeah, I mean, I get the 38th graders because especially in our schools, that's not always the same that the class sizes aren't there. So whatever you're graduating, you just got to try to refeed back into the system. But when you're losing folks along the way, and you know, now that we're past COVID, it's no longer they're moving out of state or they're
yeah.
moving to like the farm or wherever they're moving. There's got to be something we can do, right? And so I think I love that idea. That, like let's start there, and let's focus in on plugging the boat. Let's make sure we're not sinking.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, what we used to do is, which is what you did. Our quick math was, okay, if you have 30, I'm going to say graduating, right?
Hmm.
38th graders graduating. Every year. So NAS, National Association of Independent Schools, the average is about, I can't remember, 9 or 10%. So you take your school of I'm going to do easy math here. School of 330.
Hmm.
You're going to graduate your 38th graders. 10% is another 30.
Yeah.
So now you're at what, 270? And to get back up there, I need 60, so
Yeah.
if you could cut that attrition number from 10 to 5,
It's
wow.
huge.
It's
Yeah.
huge. And not to be crass, but this is important. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And then the other aspect is that there's going to be some natural attrition. Like to your point, people move out. Maybe a child was not the right fit. You can't serve the child from a learning differences need or whatever. It's going to happen.
Sure.
But it's those families that just should be there and don't remain. Those are killers. Those
Yeah.
are killers. So,
Yeah. I mean, and the flip side is when, the year has started and you get like two more families that come in. It's like free money,
yeah,
Once again, you get two new kids, hopefully they're gonna be there for a while, but like that's such a big boon because you weren't counting on it, right?
yeah,
So, I mean, I think finding those ways to um, obviously fix your system first,
yeah,
in and out. You need to make sure that you're holding on to folks and you're bringing new folks in. But then, how can we incrementally get better, and how can we not wait 9 months to start that process again, right? 'Cause it's like, oh, this year was a rough year. Well, okay, well, we're in the middle of this year. Like, why are we waiting until next year to try to get next year? The idea to me is if by January we know that kindergartner families are X number of people, I feel like we've already missed the boat on something, right?
yeah,
Because I mean, whether you're attracting those kindergarten families or not, if you're waiting to find out what's happening, it means you're not being proactive. And I don't mean disrespect to anybody who's trying, because I know this is a hard job. Uh, I saw the writing on the wall when I was on my way to becoming a principal and said, nope, I can't do it. Um, but what all I ever try to do is push like let's try something. What can we do, right?
yeah,
And so I think just making those incremental steps I think is huge. And I love this idea of these two exercises where you're saying, what makes us different and see what people come up with.
yeah.
Or what would you say to a prospective family who was asking you about the school? And then the second one was
The website.
the
Think about the
website.
website.
Right, right. Right. How quickly can people figure that out, right? And I
Yeah.
think those are two small steps, but like I think a lot of people are still failing on just those first couple steps.
Yeah, again, I understand that. I mean, this is stuff I think about all the time. I've been thinking about forever. I'm weird like that. So, and again, I know. I thought I wanted to be a head of school as well, Thomas, and then I'm like, nope, stop.
Yeah.
But the I know that's an incredibly hard job, and I
Yeah.
know
It's so hard.
it's very lonely, and you've
Yep.
got 75 things coming at you at once. But this is so important,
Yeah.
and I would say that if you're not, if this isn't your strength, or you're like, I have no clue, you've got to find a partner at school that can own it
Hmm.
and take it by the horns and run with it because you've got to. We need kids. We need kids. We
Yeah.
need revenue to support the mission.
Yeah.
So it's some people might view it as a necessary evil, but it's necessary.
Yeah. Well, you bring up a good point about being alone at the top. I think that's so true. And having to have all of the answers. I think a lot of times what ends up happening is, we obviously there's parents in the school that have many different talents, and so you want to try to use that as much as you can. But I think it's also good to build relationships with folks at other places, especially if they're not necessarily your competitor. I think it's good to be friends with your
Yes.
competitor, but
Right.
I think it's good to talk to other folks who are in the same position and just share ideas, especially if they're outside the area and you can kind of just get a different. It's not your parent, it's not an alum, it's not somebody in like your backyard who has the same kind of view about what things are. I mean, I love the idea of like calling somebody else's grandma and saying, "Hey, what do you think about the website?" Not just my grandma, but let's call
Yeah.
somebody else's, right?
Yeah.
That there's just a fresh perspective. And so if you can, align yourself with other principals, other administrators who are in your position, and you can kind of talk about these things, I think that's wonderful. How else? I imagine you advise folks in doing this. How else can folks find that kind of common struggle and be able to share those struggles?
Yeah. One of the thing, so I don't mean this as a pitch, but like, and I'll unpack it. I have something called the Marcom Society Training and Community for K-12 Marcom professionals and enrollment
Hmm.
professionals. In there, there's something we call masterminds,
Hmm.
where we take people from disparate areas or different groups, and I'm sharing this so that whoever's listening can go steal this, and I'll tell you maybe how you can do it. So take because I mean I didn't come up with the idea. It's a common thing, but it's we call it the hot seat format. So let's say that
Hmm.
there's 6 people in the group. I'm there and I facilitate. Um, so Thomas, you're in the group and we meet every 3 weeks. So you
Hmm.
come to the group and because you're in the hot seat, you bring your problems, your
Hmm.
issues, things that you're struggling with. Um, Everybody in the group, you're in, the focus. We all
Yeah.
answer, we all offer support, we all give ideas. And then if there's any other things, we talk about it. And then the next time someone else is on the hot seat.
Hmm.
Um, what I would do is that idea, like here's an example from that. We had a woman come, it was her turn on the hot seat. She shared a concern and issue she was having, real struggle. And everybody went around, including me. And I said, I'm so sorry. Everybody said, we haven't figured it out either.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. And I told the woman, I said, I'm so sorry we couldn't be of support. She goes, Brendan, the fact that this group who I respect from all different places, all different experiences, can't figure it out actually makes me feel better. Because I
Yeah.
know I'm not crazy, right?
Yeah.
Like I know I'm not crazy. So we'll keep working and sometimes we talk about the topic as things go on. I would find those people.
Hmm.
Maybe they're on LinkedIn. Maybe it's in a consortium that you're in. Maybe find so obviously there's the diocese, but is there a bigger structure in the state that you're in?
Hmm.
Just to try to find some people that like you said, aren't competitors,
Yeah.
but know the struggle. Like I say this all the time. My wife and I have been married for a long time. She doesn't know what I do, and she could give two craps about what I do. So I share stuff with her, and she's like, "Yes, dear, that sounds great." Of course she supports me and loves me, but like she doesn't know.
Yeah.
So she's like, "Yeah, man, whatever."
Yeah.
So she'll always be an ear to listen, but it's nice to have practitioners, people that are doing the struggle,
Yeah.
and being able to say, um, "You know what, Brendan, I had the same problem. I did A. You might want to try B."
Hmm.
And you're like, "Oh my God, that's fantastic." So
Yeah. Two new things. Yeah.
yeah.
We had an episode where we talked about having your personal advisory board, right? So obviously the
Yeah.
school structure, you've got the board, you've got the parent board, you might have an advisory board, but like you need something on your personal level that is maybe a little bit more informal. And whether you do something like you mentioned, a mastermind, something where you're buying into something, or you're just collecting people who can represent
Yeah.
some different perspectives, and ideally in and potentially outside of that. Like if you're talking about finance problems, talking to another school official about that is probably great, but it's also nice to have somebody who's like just in finance who can go like, if I was running a business, I would never do it that way. Or like, that's actually great. You've been doing it. You're doing exactly what we would do. Right.
Yeah.
And I think pulling those people together and kind of filling the holes in your skill set is great. And even having that person, the other two people on those advisory board for yourself is the person who will always think you're awesome when the day that you need, like today was a horrible day, I need to go talk to that person who loves me. And then the person who will never agree with you
Yeah.
because they can poke holes in things when you need that too. So I think it's a great deal. And obviously, if you formalize it in a mastermind, great. I think most people would. It's much better than counseling.
It is. And one way schools can get started, and I've done this personally, is I use AI and I have a strategic board of advisors. So and the way to do it, I mean, I have this long prompt, but I would say, help me help me write a prompt. So it's meta. You're
Yeah,
using the AI to help you write the prompt, but help
right.
me write a prompt to create a strategic board of advisors and then give it as much context as you can.
Sure.
I have this role, I'm at this school, here's the financials, here's the enrollment, here's the stuff, here's what keeps me up at night. Do a brain dump and then I I mean, Thomas, I have this. It's a this one's in Gemini. It's a gem that, oh my gosh, like, and I have a finance person, I have a strategy person, I've got a HR and they push back. Like it, I said in there in the prompt, like, don't be afraid to push, don't be afraid to question. I
Yeah,
don't always have great ideas, and it has been awesome. It does not replace. Um,
of
People can't see. I'm
course.
pointing to you and me. It does not replace conversation, real world experience like that, but it's sometimes really helpful just to 24/7 ask a quick question and get some answers. Like, oh, okay, try that.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I feel like you're full of those. Between your newsletter and then following you on LinkedIn, you've got all kinds of fun takes on how to do it. And I love how you call it together. But that's a great idea of, especially just before you even have that conversation. Let me just throw this out there, see if this makes sense. Let me get some of that basic. We've been talking about using AI with kids. Much like you'd want a kid to go through and like run a rough draft, right? So before you go and talk to your board, you've already played with this a little bit. You've played with the AI version, you played with your personal advisory board before you go talk to your actual board and kind of poked holes in everything before you actually make uh, a speech or a pitch or whatever it might be. So it's definitely a great idea. Well, we're getting kind of close here. I already mentioned the newsletter. I think everybody should sign up for that because that's just gold. Um, there's no punches are held in the newsletter. No, it's a great source of marketing and I think a reminder to keep this stuff in focus. We mentioned SchneiderB.com. What else can we share with folks?
I one again, thanks for the opportunity. I would say you mentioned already. I love to play on LinkedIn, so just Brendan Schneider, find me there. Anybody from school, I accept connections. So please reach out and connect. And then I have a book. I wrote a book called School Marketing the Right Way. A little cheeky title. It's on Amazon, and if you're so inclined, I actually recorded the audio version of the book too. So if you like audio books and you can stand my voice because I read it, you can do that too. So would love if people grab that.
Yeah, I am a guilty listener. I have the actually I have the print copy, but I listened to the audiobook first. And I feel like it's a lot of practical good stuff and a little bit about your story, which I think is cool.
Yeah, thank you. It was a labor of love. And I tried to walk the line between workbook and strategy and theory because I knew as soon as I wrote it, it would be out of things are changing so quickly. So
Yeah.
I tried to straddle the line. And looking back, sometimes I think I did it pretty well, and sometimes I would be like, oh, I wish I would have done that a little differently. But I still think it's helpful.
Well, you wrote it new enough that you weren't talking about MySpace or
I do. I have a chapter in AI that I stayed very 30,000 foot because I know it's changing so quickly.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's great. But great book. I hope people check it out. Definitely check out the website, and the newsletter. LinkedIn's all free, so there's no harm in following that stuff. Brendan, thank you for joining us. I appreciate the wisdom and the very simple, practical steps. I'm gonna let you finish with one thought. Um, is there anything else that you would want somebody who's listening to this right now? Like, what's the first thing they need to do as soon as they finish this episode?
Besides hire you,
Maybe
uh,
they've
I,
already hired me.
they've already hired you, so it's great. Um, oh, wow. That's a good question. Out of all the stuff we talked about, or something new, um, honestly, the first thing I would do is figure out what your attrition rate is. Plug the leaky boat. Now is the time of year, and reach out to every family that you think might be leaving and have a conversation with them.
Yeah, yeah. I know. I
That's where
know.
I'd start.
I know that the requests for returning have already gone out, so this is probably just the right time to having those conversations.
Have a conversation, especially if people don't turn their contracts in right away. Reach out. Hey, got any questions? How can I help? What do you think?
Yeah,
More kids you can bring back, then it's a springboard to everything else.
yeah. So true. All right, challenge has been issued, everybody. Thank you again, Brendan. We'll hopefully we'll get together again and do this again.
Yeah. Thanks, Thomas. This was great.
Appreciate it. Thanks for joining us on In Search of Catholic School Excellence. We hope you heard something inspiring or something you'd like to try at your own school. Please share this episode and leave a review to help others find us. To see how we can support your journey toward excellence, visit ilovemytechteam.com. Until next time, celebrate what's working and keep reaching for what's possible.